This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
If you're a seeker, don't miss the inspiring book Shamanic Awakening, Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Cochran's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers throughout the Americas. Sandy's initiations across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, combined with her knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth, influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private readings, sacred international journeys, a meditative CD, and her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate your earth walk and create a deeper connection to yourself. Find this and more at her website, starwalkervisions.com.
The following program is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statement of fact expressed in the following program are strictly those of the host and their guests and are not to be construed as those of REL-MAR Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, their affiliated companies, networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
Good evening. Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the mothership of paranormal programming, the X-Zone Broadcast Network. As always, it's my goal on this program to present to you, my listeners, with guests and commentary that will challenge your views of the paranormal. Here on Paranormal Stakeout, we champion research and the search for intellectual truth in our quest to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of worlds beyond our own. To do that, I look for those investigators, researchers, and practitioners who are in the field, on the line, conducting these investigations, and gathering the evidence to prove our case. Tonight, to guide us on our continuing journey, is renowned shamanic expert Gwilda Wiyaka. Gwilda, the author of The Science of Magic, Book of Mysteries, Volume 1, and the award-winning So We're Still Here, What Now? Spiritual Evolution and Personal Empowerment in the New Era, is considered to be, by many, to be today's foremost expert on modern-day application of ancient shamanic principles. She has studied shamanism for over 40 years, has been a practitioner for 30 years, and a teacher of the shamanic arts since 1996. She is the founder and director of the Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a Colorado State-certified occupational school of the shamanic arts. Gwilda is also a preceptor for the University of Colorado School of Medicine, where she provides instruction to medical doctors on the modern interface between shamanism and allopathic medicine. Born in the United States, Gwilda grew up overseas and obtained most of her higher education in Switzerland. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology and Religious Studies, and later became a certified massage therapist in the United States at the Boulder College of Massage Therapy. An experienced inspirational speaker and singer-songwriter, Gwilda conducts workshops and seminars throughout the world. She is also consultant for Shamanic Affairs at REL-MAR Media Company and the host of the very popular syndicated international radio show, also heard on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, The Science of Magic. Gwilda, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Larry.
I've been very excited to talk to you because, what you do is such an important part of what folks that study and research and investigate the paranormal do, but I don't think it quite gets the... It doesn't quite get the press that it needs. You don't get the credit that you deserve for what you do for all of us, if that makes sense.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it does make sense because shamanism is so ancient that it's often overlooked as a esoteric practice.
Well, what is it? In simple terms, to a simple old cop like myself, what is it?
Well, this is my definition, not the normal one, but the normal, the one I use in my school, is that shamanism is an organized set of rituals that helps the practitioner focus their natural ability to manage matter at the quantum level. And that's a much more modern description of it, but it's also a very accurate one, because we view it as, a mystical, magical practice where people wear bones in their nose and chop off heads of chickens. But really, it's been around for 50, 60,000 years, and that's exactly what it does.
Well, how many forms of shamanism are there?
There are as many forms of shamanism as there are indigenous practices on the planet. So at the base of every one of our culture is a shamanic-based practice.
Okay. Modern-day shamanism, how does it differ from the ancient forms?
Well, the problem with modern-day shamanism, and that's one of the problems I'm trying to work past, is that it has kind of gotten dogmatic, as science has, really. So it's gotten kind of dogmatic. And what they ended up doing is just really thinking of the practice itself as the rituals. But the rituals are just to help a person focus their ability to work at the quantum level. And so now people are waving sage around, taking a weekend course and hanging out their shingle. And it's really kind of lost the point of the practice. To really do the practice is every bit as complicated as being a medical doctor, because it affects so many different aspects of our life.
We're going to get ready to go to our first break in just a couple of minutes here, but in just a few simple words, what is your definition of shamanism to the simple person like me?
Okay. There's four levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We call it spiritual level, but it's really the energetic field, the energetic push-pull in life that happens at the quantum level of life, quantum physics. And shamanism is supposed to correct frequency imbalances at that level before they filter down and manifest physically.
Okay, that makes total sense. We're going to go to a break here in just a minute, but when we get back, I really want to focus on how your work assists those of us who are conducting paranormal investigations. So when we come back, we'll talk more about that. And I want to mention your website, thescienceofmagic.net, gwildawiyaka.com, and findyourpathhome.com. We'll be back in just a few minutes on the other side.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout and our guest, Gwilda Wiyaka. Gwilda, terrific time with you tonight. You know, I've talked to different types of mediums, sensitives, psychics, and all of those folks, not all, but many of them seem to have different perceptions or descriptions of what spirits are, how they interact. Can you kind of give me your or the shamanic view on spirits?
I'll do my best. You know, it's not necessarily the shamanic view, but it's what I've learned over 40 years of dancing with spirits in the shamanic form. I think of everything, I've really come to realize everything really is about frequency, just like Einstein said, everything expresses according to frequency. And so if we think about it that way, there are many different divinations of spirits. Where do they really come from? What are they really is the question. So say, for instance, I know you're a paranormal investigator, and I had paranormal investigators come investigate me because I do by location. I leave my body and go journey and work with somebody else outside of my space.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you more about that as we go.
Yeah, but so actually my moving around in spirit was registered on their instrumentation. So I'm not dead last time I looked, but it showed up as a ghost. So if they wouldn't have known what I was doing, they wouldn't have known what they were looking at. Does that make sense?
It does, and it leads me to this next question. How many kind of spirits are there then? If you're telling me that you have the ability to leave your body and register on some of our equipment, how many different types of spirits are there?
It's really starting to be mind-boggling how many different ways spiritual energy can move around. And I think one of the most important ones we have to pay attention to is our energy has an effect in the world that we mostly are unaware of. Every thought we do, if we send if we think of a person and send our energy, we send our energy there. And that can, and if we do an agreement, okay, so if like a whole bunch of us, that's what prayer is about, sending energy. And I think as our instrumentation gets more refined, we're going to pick up more and more and more of this. But every thought we have, every intent we have actually moves our energy in the direction of what we're thinking about. So there's nothing to say that if a bunch of paranormal investigators get together and they're all looking for a ghost, they don't create it, because it's the observer effect. The expectation of the observer has an effect on the outcome of an experiment. So how much of what we're picking up is actually us? Are we the ghosts we seek? But I also have been in contact with ghosts that of people that have crossed over and been able to substantiate what they're saying by the person, their family. But the thing of it is, am I talking to an actual ghost, or am I picking up the residual frequency of that person that's in the field of the people left behind?
In your opinion, is the current equipment, the current generation of equipment that we use, sufficient to tell the difference between a spirit of someone who's passed or our own energy?
I don't think so. I mean, unless you guys have got something out there newer than what I've seen, it's something that's been appropriated from a different purpose. Like the EMF meters are to register electromagnetic fields from electrical equipment. Sure. The security cameras are for security, for nighttime vision, and they do pick up stuff. We've seen that, and I sent you some stuff on that. But
you have, yeah.
But But they aren't designed for that, and they certainly don't have the refinement to tell one thing from another. I'd love to get together and do some experiments ourselves and see what all we can do.
Well, yeah, and that would be fascinating because you're actually describing almost a false positive. We think that we've made contact with a spirit, and there's no question we as living humans put out energy. So your commentary makes sense to me, but it would be really interesting to figure out a way to keep us from getting a false positive with this type of information. Um, You said you've actually spoken with people that passed. Are there evil spirits also, and where do they come from?
Well, again, if we think of everything as according to frequency, there are incompatible frequencies. So frequencies that aren't in our best interest for our balance. And that's what's been labeled as evil spirits. Because shamanically speaking, how the journey works or how the shaman works is they access the information at the quantum level, but then they paint a metaphor on their imagination to make sense to the rational mind of what's going on in the energetic field. Well, if it's an incompatible frequency, it'll show up with fangs and looking ugly, but it's just a metaphor. But that's what's been misinterpreted over the years, evil spirits and things chasing us down in this net. I'm not to say that they can't be harmful. They absolutely can. If you stand in radiation too long, that's going to be harmful too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we have a very limited view of what spirits really, really are and how to deal with them.
So you're telling me that demons that we talked about in this show and that people have encountered, you're telling me demons are not something from hell, shall we say?
No, in my way of thinking, no, they're not. What they are is incompatible frequency, and usually it's fairly polarized frequency. Okay, so the more we are close to neutral, the easier flow we have. Now, you need to have positive and negative and neutral to generate the energy that our bodies run off of. But if you go way too far one way at the exclusion of the other, you've hit an imbalance, and you kind of develop a wobble basically in your frequency, and that can come across as evil. And one thing that does it is when people start polarizing against each other. So when we start judging each other and taking up arms against each other, that really creates a demon in and of itself, and that's the demon of war.
Okay. This next question might morph into two. What is the difference then between a spirit and a ghost?
Well, it's semantics. I can move around in spirit, but I'm not dead, so I'm not a ghost. There are spirits of shamanically speaking, there's spirits of the elements, in other words, the frequency of the elements. There's spirits of our animals. Those are living beings, they're spirits. But ghosts, as we define them, are the residual energy left behind when someone has already crossed over. And because we don't, or hasn't crossed over, they've left their bodies, that's the whole problem. We don't have enough provision to help people cross when they die. And oftentimes they will literally stay here, they will literally be conscious, but they aren't in a physical form anymore, and that's a ghost.
Okay, so you are saying that our spirit does leave our body and cross to the other side, whether it be heaven or whatever you describe it or feel it is. Such as seeing the light. Ghosts or spirits do see the light and walk through?
Yes, because what happens when you leave your body is your frequency is tied up in the body as long as you're in it. And death is a result of the body no longer being able to maintain enough frequency to maintain health or life. When you leave the body, and they registered this in me when I left the body just to do spirit walking, the body drops way down on the EMF meter, and then the frequency that's picked up on the EF meter from the spirit in the room rises. So what happens is we leave our bodies, we free up all our energy. But then what we have to do is start walking up the frequency scale in order to cross over. And that we could get into about how people see their lives pass before their eyes or go into what they call the bardo or some religions call purgatory through that process. But if you don't go through that process and raise your frequency, you stay here at this level of frequency.
Okay. So is there a heaven and is there a hell?
In my opinion, we create them, if that
Okay.
makes any sense. In my opinion, we create them. And so our hell is what we believe in, and therefore that metaphor is what we experience if we're in fear when we die and afraid we're not going to go to the good place.
Okay. So and I'm trying to think how to exactly word this question. Ghosts are spirits of the human that have passed on, that have not crossed over, have not reached a certain plane, a certain frequency. Am I reading that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Then how do you explain, or how do you judge what Ned judge is a bad word? How do you explain how other people see folks that are seeing their past loved ones, their friends? Help me with that one, because I'm kind of caught there.
Yeah, no problem. Now, shamanically speaking, they say that once a person is crossed over, they have the freedom of coming back and being a helping spirit. So
Okay.
that's different than a ghost. They've crossed over, they've dropped their robes, they've shed their damage and patterns, and they can come back as a helping spirit. And that's why sometimes granddaughters will see their grandmother and that sort of thing. It's a helping spirit, that's shamanically speaking.
Okay, so the spirits are it's almost cyclic. They can come back time and time again, starting over, maybe learning lessons from the past and using them in the current life. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they can do that. But they don't usually incarnate physically. The spirits that come back as helping spirits show to ones that are gifted and can see them to guide them on their way. And that's sometimes we see them as helping spirits.
Okay, so I, for example, could have what I would perceive as a guardian angel, but it's actually one of these helping spirits, perhaps helping me through life today.
Well, actually, there's supposed to be two different things there. A helping spirit is usually a person that has been alive, has crossed over, has come back to help. An angel is a being that's never been incarnate in physical form, but they're a helper.
Okay, I guess I was using a guardian angel more as a guide, but just somebody coming back and helping me. Okay. Why are some people able to see or detect ghosts while others aren't? I'll tell you right now, I'm as sensitive as a rock. I just am. But why do some people have this gift and others don't?
Well, I think we all have the gift. It's just that you say you're sensitive as a rock, but you've trained yourself as an investigator. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, you've learned to stake the thing out, and you're staying at a particular frequency to see what happens there. Well, that isn't where it happens. If you have to wander the frequency scale until you find what you're looking for. It's kind of like if you're fishing for shark. If they're
Okay.
not at this depth, you go to a different depth. But that's kind of diametrically opposed to the way you've trained yourself. You want to see what's factually happening in this reality. And so that's why some people see them and some people don't. Another thing that plays in is how healthy are we? Are we on drugs? Is our frequency compromised in our physical body because of illness or whatever? And that will lower our ability to perceive more esoteric things.
Okay. So you're telling we can train ourselves through study, through meditation, to, I guess, reach a level where we can perceive these spirits a little bit better?
Yes, absolutely you can. And the key here, Larry, is that you will see them in your imagination. And so we discredit that. But that's the way they register, and then you can interpret them.
Okay, and because one of my goals, one of the things I want to see in the field of paranormal investigation is instrumentation that's a whole lot more specific, a little more delicate, that can pick things like this up. Do you see us ever getting to the point where we can have instrumentation that can tell the difference between the two?
I think we can, and it's going to have to be very, very refined, but I absolutely think we can. Because if we can sense it with our physical bodies, then it's out there. It's just a matter of getting something refined enough to pick it up.
Okay. Well, because one of the things that I'm planning on doing is actually creating a paranormal type of laboratory that can test and evaluate many of these different philosophies and views of the paranormal to help us come up with a more definitive answer. And I'm pretty excited about that. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that in the future also. How many investigations, have you done many investigations with paranormal investigators?
I've done about 6, and I registered in one form or another with all of them.
Do they find that you're more of a help or a hindrance?
Oh, I'm saying they've investigated me to see if they can track my body, me when I leave my body. Mm-hmm.
And that's been successful?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever conducted an investigation with a team searching other answers? At all?
No,
Well,
I haven't.
Okay, we're going to go to a break now as we head into our second installment here. Please come back and join us in the second half of our show here, and I want you to please check out Gwilda's website at thescienceofmagic.net, gwildawiyaka.com, and findyourpathhome.com. We'll see you on the other side.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, soul balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout with Gwilda Wiyaka as my guest tonight. Gwilda, this has been really an intriguing conversation, one that I've got to admit has challenged my thinking. And that's one thing I like to do on the show is challenge thinking, challenge points of views. And you've really done that for me tonight, and I appreciate that. Getting to the theme of a lot of my programming here, of helping investigators collect evidence to prove that existence, that the world beyond us, that there's actually something out there. Tell me how you, with your talents and your abilities, can help an investigation of a haunted house, for example.
Well, what I can do is by refining where I'm picking up, by refining what frequency level I'm working at, I can usually tell the difference if I'm working with people's expectation or an actual haunting or a demonic influence, in other words, a way imbalanced frequency. There's also things known as imprints. I call them imprints. So basically, I use this when I'm doing forensic work. You walk into a room and you feel something in there. You feel like it's oppressive or this or that. But it's not necessarily an active ghost or an active haunting, but rather residual frequency that's left by a happening in the room. Well, people that have been extremely mentally ill while they were alive and have a ritual that they do, okay, over and over, like, you know, the lady in black that goes and visits the grave of her lover until the day she dies. Well, they can still go and actually pick up pick it up on your instrumentation. But what it is, it's not the actual haunting, it's an imprint of the energy because she repeatedly did the same thing with her personal energy while she was alive.
A residual haunt, yeah.
I'm sorry?
A residual haunt.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's various types, and usually I can tell the difference because I can say with the residual you don't set up a dialogue. With a haunting spirit or a possessing spirit, you can pick up a dialogue. And then I can always just go in and test the way I do, asking my help, okay, what am I working with here? And that's how I've gotten a lot of my information, is there's so many different kinds. This is the expectation of the people around you. No, this is really somebody that needs help crossing over, and we'll do psychopump work.
Okay. The shamanic practices and the frequency, the spirit, what does that have to do directly with ghosts? And I don't know if that's a good question or not, but I see that you're talking about more spirits that are not, how to put this, they're not passing over. Explain that deeper for me, would you please?
Sure. In all of our indigenous cultures, there's a provision to help the dead to cross.
Okay.
It's been watered out of most of our religions. Catholicism held it the longest, but for the most part, there is no provision for our dead to cross. And in addition, we're having these, instant death by car accidents, dying under anesthesia, dying of drug overdose. So people are having these sudden and shocking deaths with no religious or spiritual support to help them cross, to help them move through that process to get over. And then you add to that our belief in heaven and hell, and if they're that with that belief system, they're going to stay here, thank you very much, if they don't think they've lived a good enough life not to go down, right? Okay. So all of that put together, we have one big modern mess of disembodied spirits. And there's a form called psychopumping, which is help the dead to cross, that is present in all shamanic practices. And so we use that practice to help these to go across the other side.
Okay. During many of our investigations, we've come across properties that were haunted, not so much the buildings. How do you see what do you think the reason is for that?
Well, there's, again, a lot of different reasons. One of them that's real common in this area is the Native Americans sealed the land when they were driven off their ancestral lands, so that there wasn't a connection between the land and the people moving into it, because they felt that it wouldn't be stewarded properly. And when things can't ground, when that made it so it can't ground, it's basically kind of like a curse on the land. And then spirits tend to hang around because they're just disoriented. So if somebody crosses, they can't ground up or down, They just hang out, and that's, and other times
Okay.
people have a particular connection to the land. And even though they die, and when I was a child, I ran across a gentleman that was a homesteader of the property that my father had his farm on. And I talked to him forever, not even knowing he wasn't alive. But he loved that farm so much, and he didn't believe in life after death, and he just kind of stayed there.
Just never crossed over.
Exactly.
Let me throw this theory out to you that was given to me not too long ago. I found it quite interesting, and I'd like to get your take on it. That there are spirits and there are ghosts in this sense. The spirit is what goes to heaven or whatever you perceive heaven to be, but the ghost is the energy that stays back, and depending on the energy of the human when they were alive, will affect the energy of the ghost, and that's what you see. In other words, the soul actually goes to heaven. But the soul's almost the battery that powers the body, and that battery leaves energy that we now see as a ghost.
For me, that's a little polarized and simplistic.
Okay.
For me, heaven is all frequencies existing at the same time and having the mobility to be at any one that you choose to be, because you have shed all your restrictions. And so you have a much wider bandwidth. That is a spirit. A ghost is one that doesn't shed the restrictions and therefore is stuck in this frequency. That would be more the way I would look at it.
Okay, well, that's interesting, because that theory was brought to me, and it made a little bit of sense, because many, as you said before, many of our instruments pick up the residual energy. So that was just an interesting little tidbit. Let's talk for a few minutes about your travels out of body. That's something we've read about, we've heard about. Tell me how that actually happens.
Well, it's a shamanic process whereby I go into what they call the shamanic journey trance, and basically that's just a ritual. I listen to drums to help me focus, usually in a headset so it doesn't disturb the neighbors, and I go through a ritual whereby my brain waves drop down into alpha. Alpha at the 7.5 hertz, the same as the planet, and then they drop into theta. And when I go into theta, then I am able to project my intention and my awareness outside of my body. And it's measurable. I've had a lot of doctors put gum in my hair measuring my brain waves, and I can reproduce that at will. But when I do that, what I can do, Larry, is journey someplace else and give you a pretty darn good idea about what's going on at the place. Or I can journey someplace else and work on a person spiritually to help them heal. That's where I do a lot of my healing sessions in the long distance. The difficulty with that is being able to maintain time and space. So I might know where I am, but not when I am, because you're outside of time and space when you journey outside of your body. So when I did the test for the paranormal investigators, I had to be very, very focused that I was in this current reality at this time when I bilocated.
Okay. So you can actually travel to dimensions that aren't even connected to this earth.
Yes, I can. I try to do my work here. That's where the work is, but yes, I can.
Yeah, we have enough trouble here. Your help's definitely needed. What is how many levels of dimensions are there? Is it infinitesimal?
I believe it's infinite. Everybody has a different theory. Oh, there's 3D, there's 4D, there's 10D. I really think, again, that simplistic and polarized and fragmented. I think that it's a complete continuum, and that there's different consciousnesses and awarenesses, and maybe even different versions of ourselves at different places. But I just think it's infinite.
Okay, there was some military practices that went on for years. The experiments where they would take people to actually do kind of what you're describing to me to spy. Have you ever heard of for those types of uses?
Yes, I have. And they use a procedure called remote viewing. And I can't remember right now who really refined that, but it's very, very, very refined. And people that are really, really good at remote viewing and trained well probably are a heck of a lot more accurate than I am, because I do a lot of different things. Remote viewing has not been all that interesting to me, except to be able to journey to a client that needs my help at a distance. Or to journey out to get information. But remote viewing is very, very profound, very, very real.
And it seems almost like it'd be very, very dangerous. I mean, if this is true, I'm certainly not doubting it, then people can be trained to go just about anywhere outside their body and gather information, gather good and bad information.
Right, and the key is in the interpretation. Because if you're journeying out of your body and you're gathering information, it's still coming in through the same channels. It's still coming in through your imagination, and then you have to take that information from your imagination to the logical mind and interpret the data that you got. And that's the failing point of most people. They don't know when they are, they don't know where they are, and they misinterpret the information that they're getting.
So anybody can be trained to do this?
Well, can anybody be trained to be a good cop? It's each according to their gifts, each according to their
Sure,
limitations.
okay.
Yeah. But I think to a certain degree, all of us probably do it anyway. So if you stop for a minute and think about imagining doing something, you just imagine doing it. You're actually doing it through using the imagination channels. We do not understand imagination, and we invalidate it for something left for children, but it's a huge portion of our ability to manage our matter, to manage our frequency, to manage our energy in the world.
I can't even imagine having that ability to do that. Dreaming. Does dreaming become part of this?
Oh, there's some people that are dreamers. I love working with them. They actually, they do lucid dreaming. I have people come and talk to me in my dreams, but they've come to me because I'm not a lucid dreamer as a rule. But I have conversations at night with people, and then I talk to them the next day, and they are aware that we had exchanged some information during the night. It's pretty amazing.
How do spirits then talk to or communicate with the living through dreams this way?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. And you see, that's the difference. Dreams are when we drop into theta and we're able to use our imagination. That's the dreamscape, is our imagination. So it's the same thing as talking to them waking. It's just if you talk to them waking, you're able to focus your attention on theta. You get your brain into theta waves and receive the information while you're awake. Otherwise, we drop into theta, and that's when we get the information through our dreams. The key is, are we going to remember it or not?
So why do most people not remember their dreams? They're vivid and they dream it and they know it's happening, but they wake up and they can't describe it. Is there a reason for that?
I think there's a lot of different kind of dreams, and this is not necessarily my area of expertise, but
Okay.
we have some dreams that are processing what went on during the day. We have some dreams that are letting us know of the things that we picked up on the subliminal level during the day and processing that. And then there's some dreams where I think we're actually interacting with other people. How much of that fits into our belief of reality is the key as to how much is we're going to remember.
Okay. All right. Well, that helps me out a little bit. This has truly been an interesting conversation. I have to admit, you've opened my eyes to a world that I really have not been experienced before. Now, we're going to come back after our next break here and get a little bit deeper into this. See you on the other side.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401 courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? I'm Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and on The Secret to Everything, we will merge the practical with open investigation into all realms of the mysterious. We will talk to cutting-edge alternative health practitioners, those who inspire and motivate you in business and life, and of course, we will share stories of the paranormal, conspiracy, and cryptozoology. You will transform because of the frequency I carry, the frequencies my guests carry. Life may never be the same after you listen to this program, for the secret to everything is for you, the listener, for those who desire more in every area of their lives and believe that it can still be found. Listen and discover thesecrettoeverything.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, and I want to just take a couple of minutes here to talk to you about Gwilda Wiyaka and her website at www.thescienceofmagic.net, gwildawiyaka.com, and findyourpathhome.com. Both, I really invite you to look at those websites. And I'd also remind you to check out all the great programming at www.xzbn.net, the mothership of paranormal programming. And please visit me at my websites, www.paranormalstakeout.com and www.paranormalfbi.com, as well as my Facebook, Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. Wow, Gwilda, I have learned a lot tonight, and I truly appreciate you enlightening me. These are some topics that many of us don't deal with, so thank you.
My pleasure.
What are the things that we do confront on occasion in the world of paranormal investigation or evil spirits? Tell us how you can help the line investigator like myself identify an evil spirit, and what do you think how do you think we should protect ourselves?
Again, evil spirits are incompatible frequencies. And if you get into an area where you've really got a strong one, I mean, have you had the hair go up on the back of your neck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you tell me you don't have any senses like a rock, right? That's your body responding to the presence of a frequency that's absolutely incompatible. And these frequencies, if they've come from human beings to start out with, are usually when someone is very polarized, very angry, um, and their frequency drops really low, and they hold that resentment, they hold that anger, that frequency of rage. Your basic serial killer has that kind of frequency, right? And if
Right.
you're in the presence of one of them, your hair goes up on the back of your neck, right?
Oh, yeah.
So listen to your body, because it'll tell you when you're in the presence of something that doesn't belong. And the key is not dropping into fear, because fear is a lower frequency. Stay as much as you can in love, and centered in your heart, because the only power evil spirits have is that they can get your frequency to drop down to where theirs are, and then they've got you.
Okay. What happens if one of them, a spirit such as that, does grab us?
Well, by grab us, what I mean is they've compromised your frequency to the point that you no longer have spiritual integrity, and you start to express some of the evil, if you will, or the
Hmm.
lower frequency thought forms, the lower frequency behaviors that the spirit itself would have possessed. And that's what we call a possessing spirit.
Okay.
And we tend to view that as it's jumped on you and now we got to pull it off. Well, no, it's a matter of frequency correction. What's happened is the fear or the anger found a place to resonate within you from your damage and found agreement there, dropping your overall frequency to the point that you're no longer acting like yourself. And so the shamanic practitioner's job in a depossession, and there's various forms of doing it, various rituals to do it, is to bring the frequency of the client back up to a level that it can hold integrity, and therefore move beyond and remove the frequency of the possessing spirit.
Okay. So there's no question that there is a part of the Catholic Church that performs exorcisms.
The,
Okay, go ahead.
the Jesuit priests were really good at that.
Mhm.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. Are they practicing the same depossession techniques that you're describing?
They are practicing a form of depossession techniques. There's a lot of different forms. My Tibetan teacher, their depossession was scary. The practitioner would bite the client and scare the client, and there's just all sorts of different rituals. I would have to say the ones the Jesuits use is much more user friendly for our culture.
Okay, and then they use mostly religious trappings with which to do that. How does that relate to how you depossess a person?
Um, how I do it is, again, working with my what we call power animals, helping spirits, in other words, the outside helpers, to get my frequency high enough. And then I bring back frequencies for the person that they've disconnected from. So I raise their frequencies. And it's all done in shamanic journey work and through metaphor.
Okay.
So I work on it like that. But I have this belief system of better the devil you know than the one you don't. And so I try to shore up a person's frequency before I try to remove any frequency that's incompatible. Because if you just remove the incompatible frequency, or some people would say remove the demon, the person
Mhm.
is still left vulnerable if their frequency hasn't been mended to take on the next one that walks through the room. So shamanic healing to me is paramount in depossession.
Okay, I'm going to backtrack way almost back to the beginning of the show tonight because I'm going to ask you a question then if I was listening, I would be wanting to ask this question. You're using the term frequency. To a person like me, that's like a radio wave.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what you're describing. Our electrical frequency is really what controls all of this.
Yes, well, there's two types of waves. There's mechanical waves, which need a medium to propagate in, and that's like sound waves. But then at higher frequencies, there's electromagnetic waves, and
Right.
they don't need a medium to propagate in. They can travel through the vacuum of space, like your radio waves, et cetera, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. And most of what I'm talking about is more on that bandwidth.
Okay, and when you're talking about a higher frequency, you're talking more love, and a lower frequency, more evil or hateful, correct?
Yeah, in the extremes, as
Okay.
far as human expression goes, love is and gratitude are some of the higher expressions,
Hmm.
and hatred is some of the lower. But there's bandwidths on either side from that. I mean, light is a frequency.
Sure, sure. Okay. So when you're conducting an exorcism, you're dealing with those lower frequencies, and you're trying to bring the person back to a higher frequency. That-
Right. We're trying to bring the corrective frequency. So if you think of it like music, okay? If you think about like music and we have a guitar that's out of tune and it's flat, we have to tune that guitar back up to where it's all in tune with itself. And that's basically what we're doing on an energetic level, where the person is bringing them back into their natural expression so they're not vulnerable to expressing the lower frequencies that have so-called possessed them.
Okay, okay, all right. Um, how how often do you encounter people that have allowed themselves to reach that point?
Fortunately, not as often as you might think. People are getting much more competent and conscious of dealing with their own frequency, with their being responsible for their own feelings and that sort of thing. So at least we see that. But when I was doing my internship as in my degree for psychology, I worked in a mental institution, and oh my
Mhm.
goodness, there was a lot of it there.
Oh, I can only imagine. So that obviously this has a lot to do with the mental health of an individual.
Exactly. Yeah, it really does. Because if your frequency is so low, you can't maintain mental health. You can't. You
Okay.
just don't have the bandwidth of frequency to find the balanced place to be. You get triggered into a lower frequency, a lower place, a lower thought form, and there you have it.
Well, this has been fascinating for me because this is an entirely new direction with which I've had to look at the paranormal. So I really appreciate this presentation, this new look for me, if you will. And that's what this is all about: is learning. Because so much of this is theory, so much of what we're doing is new, and it's always great to have these other directions, perceptions to look at. So I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to, just like you, is getting the instrumentation out there, because a lot of my shamanic skills show up on biofeedback. And so, if we could get the paranormal instrumentation out there, we could run all sorts of experiments just with bilocation and that sort of thing, and start getting a handle on what is and what isn't.
Well, do you have an idea or a thought of how this equipment would look?
No, that's not my department. I don't have that kind of scientific background. I think that where you're going is it just needs to be more refined for starters. I think a
Hmm.
lot of it could be filming, a lot of it could be the EMF meters, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going in my head. I'm thinking our typical Mel meters or even K2s being refined to test these or search for these other frequencies. Certainly, I'm particularly fascinated with a ghost box, or what they call a portal right now, perhaps hitting these frequencies and being able to make contact, if you will, with these spirits at these different levels. Very fascinating stuff. Um, what I'd like to do is remind everybody, and this is listening, folks, is learning, and I would like to invite all of you to visit uh, with Gwilda at her websites, www.thescienceofmagic.net, gwildawiyaka.com, findyourpathhome.com, because by looking at her site as I did, and I'm starting to learn more and more about this very, very fascinating field. Certainly something is new to me, so I really have enjoyed it.
Well, it's really fun talking with you about it, Larry, because the ghost hunting is very fascinating to me. And I think that, like I said, if we pool our resources, we could do a lot of testing on the equipment with someone that can consciously move around out of body to start out with.
Well, what I'd like to do, Gwild, is I'd like to somehow make some arrangements. I know you're up in the high country of Colorado there, but I would like to create an opportunity for you to get with some paranormal teams, not for the purpose of them tracking you, but to use your talents and your skills in conjunction with their equipment to help find out where that equipment needs to be tweaked or improved.
That would be fun.
Well, that's all we have time for tonight. I do appreciate you being here with Gwilda. I'm looking forward to talking to you again. And for all my listeners out there, we'll see you folks on the other side at Paranormal Stakeout.